Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kipper Price, talking to you about you and your business. Tony Power is a great friend of the Price of Business radio program. He's with italkus.com. Plus, he's with a station out there in, is it Georgia? Or is it the Carolinas? Or is it both?
Well, it's kind of right on the border. We're in the CSRA, the Central Savannah River area. We're actually broadcast from Augusta, but we're right across the river from South Carolina, so we kind of cover both states.
Tony does a super fantastic job there at iTalk US, plus developing that radio network. Why don't you talk about that radio network, where you guys are at in that process?
Well, actually, we're bringing on some pretty great folks. You can listen to Kevin Jackson, who we've just added, 9 until midnight on iTalk US. Of course, my program in the afternoon from 3 to 6, Powers to the People. And we're talking with, Eric Rush. I don't know if you're familiar with Eric, but Eric is coming on with our network. And actually, we're trying to add a whole lot of black conservative voices to the network. So we're working to reach out to the black community with a good conservative message as well. So it's growing, and we're real happy with the progress we're making. Well,
very good, very good. Obviously, the big talk up in Washington, D.C. is the whole budget crisis, which is kind of an ongoing saga as the stomach churns, really. $17 trillion national debt. They're trying to figure out what to do about it. The left wants to raise taxes. Conservatives claim they want to, reel in spending, but you and I both know neither side have the intestinal fortitude to do the kind of reeling in of spending that really needs to be done. Maybe with the exception of a Rand Paul and a Ted Cruz, there's very few who really have it. Guys like Paul Ryan, they put out plans that take 10, 12, 15 years to implement, and it really is laughable, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, but, we have big government Republicans just like we have big government Democrats. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody up there is real interested in cutting spending. They talk a good game, and it's kind of like WWF wrestling sometimes to me. They put on a good show. One side says, yeah, we want to cut spending. If we got to raise the debt ceiling, then we got to cut spending to reduce that deficit. And then, of course, Obama says, well, we've got to spend more money in order to create jobs. Well, that's not the way it works. And unfortunately, Republicans, they talk a good game. But I'm a little bit disappointed in our leadership up there. And I think they really need to get serious about doing serious cuts. The sequester, the only reason Obama can say that he has reduced the deficit at all is because of this sequester, which he loves to hate. But he goes out and he brags, I've cut the deficit at a faster rate than anybody, but he raised the deficit at a faster rate than anybody, so it was easy to cut as a percentage and make himself look good. But the fact is, we've still got $700, $800 trillion deficits that we're running every year.
Yeah. No question about it. And it just keeps going and going and going. Most recent comments is that raising the debt ceiling won't increase the debt. That's what Obama said this week.
Yeah, really, how does that work?
Yeah, I'm just like, that's just way over my pay grade, as he likes to say. Just really, it gets more and more bizarre, more and more newspeak in the Orwellian tradition.
Well, the thing is you look at Ben Bernanke, who yesterday decided, well, we're going to keep the quantitative easing going out there. And what really shocked me is I think about 75% of the American people don't even have a clue what quantitative easing is. But he's pumping $85 billion into the economy every month, and it's doing great for Wall Street, but Main Street is dying out here. Banks aren't loaning money. They're taking that money, and they're making money just by buying government bonds and making a safe dollar. Or they're investing in Wall Street, and they're making a whole lot of money. So you are seeing, ironically, under this president, this big gap between the very wealthy and the rest of us is growing.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Huffington Post wrote a very compelling article making the exact same case, and they showed graphs of every president since, I guess it was since Clinton, and sure enough, this has been a time that has been explosive for the very rich and a declining of income for the middle class under Obama. Obama is Wall Street's president.
Oh, yes, he is. I mean, look what's happening with Wall Street. And, of course, it's going to come to an end sooner or later. The Fed is going to stop doing that quantitative easing. And then what? We know how that story ends, and it's not a pretty picture. But we've got Obamacare coming up at the first of the month. You know, you've got to go ahead and start registering for that in the beginning of October. We need to defund that. That's probably the biggest drag on our economy right now of all the things that are going on. That is dragging jobs down. It's dragging the economy down. It's adding to the uncertainty. Businesses don't want to invest. And small businesses can't invest because they can't get money.
Right.
All that quantitative easing is not helping the small businessman that is out there creating 75-80% of the jobs. Those people are being starved out of that money.
Oh, yeah, and meanwhile, people are in shock and awe when they go to the grocery store and see 25% increase in base goods. And these, clever financial guys who obviously have never studied even the most basics in economics are coming up with these nifty new terms like biflation, where we have high inflation on certain commodity items, but we have deflation, even a reduction in prices in other items and services. Well, the reality is that the reason why you have so-called deflation is because people's demand are so pent up, businesses have no choice but to lower the prices. And fortunately, thanks to the opulence and wealth of about a half a decade ago, people could, these businesses have those margins to be able to lower their costs. But when you look at stuff that is affected immediately by the production of paper money, like grocery goods, there's been an explosion of prices. We have an inflation. There is no biflation. You can't even have biflation. Inflation or deflation are monetary economic terms. And so you either have too much money in the economy or not enough. My friend, we got way too much money in this economy.
Oh, yeah, we do. And just look at let's take the game show Survivor, for example. What do you need if you're on the island? Well, you need shelter, you need food, and you need some sort of energy, in order to stay alive. Well, the cost of energy, as Obama promised, has necessarily skyrocketed. I mean, how you like gas at over $3 a gallon for over 1,000 days. First time in history that's ever happened. And of course, as you pointed out, commodities, the grocery store, everything is higher. And of course, housing is now going back up. So we're seeing inflation. You're absolutely right. We don't have anything called biflation. We've got inflation. And unfortunately, the average American is making about $2,600 less a month than they did when Obama came into office.
Yep.
If they have a job at all.
That's right. That's exactly right. Meanwhile, the mega wealthy have become mega wealthier. I mean, we are more and more of a fascist-style government, with government in collaboration and cahoots, if you will, with the biggest companies in America. And together they're crying to the bank at our expense.
Oh, yeah. And I use that word quite often, and people say, well, that's a pretty harsh term. And I'm like, well, look it up.
Yeah.
What is it? It's government and big business in bed with each other. And, the Democrats used to love to say Republicans were the party of big business. Well, who is the party of big business? Look at what's happening on Wall Street. Look who's in bed with big business. Look at GE, who doesn't pay any tax, and the huge profits they make. And Jeffrey Immelt and all of his cronies who are buddies at the White House. It is crony capitalism or fascism, whatever you want to call it, on steroids now under this president.
Yeah, absolutely. Socialism is government control or ownership of the means of production. Fascism is government and business collaborating for that type of control. Can't tell me it's not happening today. All right, Tony Powers, he's a regular here on The Price of Business. We love getting his insight. You can learn more about him at italkus.com. That's italkus.com. Thanks, as always, for being with us.
My pleasure, Kevin. Thank you.
When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you the best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook. Follow it on Twitter